Hi there, my name is Ben. I have been a paraglider pilot for 3 years, and I recently took a bit of a gamble and purchased a harness online from a Ukrainian company. Here it is. It has arrived. This is a very lightweight pod harness. I'm going to open this up. So right off the bat, what I can say is, I appreciate saving weight on packaging. Basically one layer of saran wrap. There is a bit of foam in the packaging, but maybe a little cardboard box would be acceptable. Velcro to keep the zipper down and closed. That's a nice little addition. We have the foot plate, and man, this weighs nothing. It's crazy how light this is. Like, I'll have to put it on the scale later, but I can't quite communicate to you how light this stuff is. So this is the back protector. So this is the back protector. It's actually more of a butt protector. It doesn't go up on the back very much. And then also attached we have the front mounted reserve and cockpit. This is a little piece of Velcro. It's all very lightweight, Dyneema everything. The finish is nice. Yeah, the stitching so far seems to be, done with attention to detail. There's some nice stitching. Our container is of course made for a light reserve, as it's not huge, but that's okay. That's what I have already. I'll just pop this open. Inside, you've got the risers for the reserves that go to a center point. So it's a bridle. One thing I'd like to see improved on the reserve container is something like what's on this Neo pouch here. You have this ring system and a strap which ties to your reserve bridle. In the case of the Bogdan Fly harness, the reserve bridle is actually sewn into the container. It's good, you save a little bit of weight. What's bad is that you have to use that bridle, and so if you wanted to, say, mount Rogallo or something else, you would have a problem using that container. So I would prefer to have as much versatility as possible over the 50 grams that you save by adding a system, by removing a system like this one. What appears to be some extra pieces of fabric, perhaps for repairs, so both in black and green, and some black and white tape for repairs. The meat of it. Man, this is just like, it looked light when I was looking at it online. It did not look this light. I cannot convey how light this feels. So that's a whole lot of string. I'll have to suspend it to make sense of it all, but essentially everything is Dyneema, and it all goes to a central point here. And you clip in all the loops. You can see he's tied it with a little piece of elastic so that you don't lose them, but essentially you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops to clip in when you put the beaners on there. I'm assuming that some will be able to stay and some will have to come out in order to tie yourself in and out of the harness. Alright, so now that I'm clipped in, I'll try to show you a little bit what it looks like in flight. I found getting into the pod to be overall pretty easy. Haven't had any major issues. It's lightweight, so it can blow back. but I found that even if it was blown back, I could easily just reach down, grab the foot plate, bring it forward, and get a foot in it. Of course, I'm aware of solutions like a bungee on your ankle or something like that. The in-flight position, to each their own. It took me a good amount of little tweaks and tries to really get a position that I'm happy with. But now that I have it, there's no need to change. I would be reticent to lend this harness to someone else if they were to change my settings, because adjustability is a little bit finicky. It can take a little while to get everything dialed in, to get the right length for your legs, to get the right angle for the foot plate. And so now that I've dialed it in, it's great. But like I said, it took a little while. Weight shifting, amazing. It's a hammock harness. It does feel like you get sloshed around a little bit, but that's the nature of having such a lightweight harness, and I use it with a lightweight wing, which is quite reactive, so you do get, bumped from side to side, but it's completely manageable. You just have to learn to adapt your flying style to the circumstances and to the equipment that you're flying with. The dashboard works really well. I'm quite minimalist in terms of instruments, especially on hike and flies, so nothing to say there. Haven't had to deploy the reserve, but I'm really overall very pleased with the quality of the harness and the comfort of the pod. Like I said, there are a few things that I think could be improved. I saw that now that the company is actually called Bogdan Fly. When I purchased this harness, it had sort of no name. It was lightweight paragliding equipment on Facebook. I saw that he made quite a few improvements. My buddy bought the more recent version of it, and a few things had been improved. I'll show you what I find really good about this harness and what I find, a work in progress. Alright, so one of the things I wanted to bring your attention to is that this harness, like anything, has compromises. I'd say one of the biggest compromises is the fact that you have quite a busy connection point. You have a number of straps, or be they structural or to hold the pod in place, that connect all in the same spot. I found that using these Black Diamond Beaners, which is the beaners that Bogdan uses in his demo videos, really helps, because this area here keeps things from mixing with each other. You do want to be careful about making sure your reserve doesn't go in there, because in the event of a deployment, if it's below this notch, it's going to start pulling on this little notch, which is not designed to carry any load. So you really want to make sure that your reserve is in this part, as is your wing. One thing I do really like is just the detail in the harness. You've got a little ball here for your reserve to stabilize it, so you have the two mounting points, and then this ball really helps keep it level and flat and well seated on you. And I have pulled the handle. I've never deployed reserve, but I've pulled the handle and pulled the chute out of the pod. Comes out extremely easily, especially when this little ball is done up, and it is a good system as far as I can tell. I also quite like this little pocket here. I keep a granola bar and snacks, and usually I'll keep my phone in there. Also, these pockets on either side, good volume. They're a little bit stretchy, so you can fit something in there and have it somewhat secure, but also, and most importantly, you have a little loop to put a leash on whatever you're keeping in that pocket, if it should be leashed. One thing I've found important in my tweaking, this is the shoulder strap. There's a lot of splices, and the way that you adjust the length of things on this harness is by sliding the splice. So here's that shoulder strap. and here is how the splice works. You have this little barrel that just maintains it in position while there's no tension on it. As soon as you tension a splice, it has constricting strength, which prevents the splice from sliding. So I've just pulled some slack through the barrel, and then you can simply go to the end of the splice and pull on the splice itself. Now you may see the splice has become fatter and less streamlined as I pull, and now you see I've effectively lengthened that strap. If you now want to shorten it, same process. You simply, trying to not get my fat fingers in the way there, you simply hold the splice, let it slide in, and you see I'm at the very end of the adjustable range. And then when you retension the splice, it becomes nice and streamlined again, and there you are. And then what you would do to finish, once you're done, you're happy with your adjustment, you place the barrel somewhere on the splice to keep it in place while not under tension. But if you look down here, technically this first strap should be the first thing in the Beener, followed by the rest of them. And as you can tell, I've actually put this strap further down, so it's not the first thing that's in the Beener, it's the third one. And that means that when I'm in a flying position, the strap is slightly more tensioned, and thus further reducing its length. I found that the shoulder adjustments were not quite long enough, or there wasn't quite enough of it to get me in a sufficiently upright position that I wanted. And so that was a little workaround, which works great. It's just enough to get the tension I wanted in the shoulder straps. Alright, next on the list of small improvements, this eyelet should be a bit bigger. You can't use anything rigid to thread the handle and to mount a reserve in there. It has to be a small piece of line. I would just make it a little bit bigger, be a bit less of a hassle, and it wouldn't change anything to your safety. So here you can see how you adjust the length for the top of the foot plate. There's a small choke here in the Dyneema splice which goes through and then attached goes around another piece of Dyneema line on which there are knots, and then you can set the knots wherever you want in terms of length, and that's how you get adjustment on this. So as you can tell, I've got 1, 2, 3 knots within about an inch and a half here. 1, 2, 3 knots. If you focus, and I found a few millimeters really actually made a difference for me. I was pretty picky as to the position I was in. One thing I will say, I made a few modifications to this part myself. First modification, these elastics here, the original ones were very tiny, and on my 3rd or 4th flight they broke, and so I was left without a speed bar, or not. It was difficult to get into the speed bar as one section of it was not hooked. Another issue is, and something I changed, is at the bottom here there used to be some pulleys, some mechanical pulleys that actually rotated. I have gone and changed those for these fixed rings. This Dyneema line got stuck between the sheave and the pulley and nearly got cut. And this is part of the tensioning system for the foot plate. I didn't want to have to change this line as it has a number of splices, and so before I actually cut through it with the pulley, I got rid of them right away. So a potential improvement there. I'll talk about the speed system as well. So I'm pulling on the connections to the speed bar the way that my wing would, and as you can tell at my feet there's an elastic which should be under tension, and then you can simply slide your heel, and get it inside of the speed system. Let me do this again, the better side, and that's how your speed system works. This is the first level and second level It's a bit finicky. It's definitely small. The straps tend to grip on, if you're wearing like alpine boots or something, they really grip on the heel of your boots, and it can be a little bit hard to get on and off, in particular speed bar. You want to make sure that you're able to get in and then see, I'm trying to release right now, and I've really got to get my foot up and out of it. Not sure how to improve that, but one of the things I absolutely love about this harness is the amount of storage space you have in the back. It's unreal. You can fit so much stuff. There is a camelback pouch. Unfortunately, on my version, there is no hole to get your tube through, but in my buddy's version, which is more recent than this one, that has been added. So I'm a little ashamed to say I got dragged a little bit on launch one time at our home spot, which is very unforgiving. It's rocky and it takes little to put a hole in this harness. It's obviously very fragile, but I knew that from the start, so that's what happens when you do bad piloting. I will say the beaners that it came with are the worst beaners I have ever seen in my entire life. They are Austri Alpine beaners. I had never seen them before. I've never felt a rated beaner with such terrible action. It's not even locked. To push on it to lock it. I've never seen such shitty beaners, to be honest. So if you're gonna buy the harness, don't buy beaners, buy some Black Diamonds. I highly recommend it. And as for you, Bogdan, I really recommend that you change who you buy your beaners from, because you have an excellent product that you're really lowering the bar on the beaners. It's very unfortunate. So in conclusion, I've flown this harness in Canada in the spring, where it's very boomy and very turbulent, strong thermals. We're talking like +7, +8 pretty regularly. I've flown it in Mexico. I did an SIV on it. I flew it in the French Alps. I did up to 120 kilometers and 4-hour flights in the harness. I did some ridge soaring, I did some thermal flying, and overall I am extremely satisfied. Yes, there are a few things that could be improved, but for the price and for the quality of product that you get, it is not a rip-off whatsoever. It's an extremely good value. Yeah, I'm really pleased with it. Be aware, it's an ultralight hammock harness. You won't get the stability that you would get in a big racing pod, of course. But I think it's worth everything, and the fact that I have a 3.5 kilo wing with my reserve mounted on the harness, I'm at under 3 kilos. I'm probably at more like 2. And it's just fantastic. It's a really nice setup to go hiking. The comfort and warmth of a pod is like nothing else. The ability to just walk around and have my pod harness be not cumbersome and excellent for travel. Can't say anything bad about that.